holiness is more than our pelvic sins, you know? And that's something that we have to realize. What does holiness look like when we engage with one another, right? When the scripture says, mourn with those that mourn.
Yes.
So instead of dealing with discomfort, like that's holiness. Engaging in empathy is holiness. And so that engaging of discipleship, I mean, we just have not been formed in discipleship to be the type of Christians that are committed to this work, to stay in this work. And therefore we're emotionally immature, spiritually immature, and are showing up late to a party that's been going on for a very, very long time.
Well, in this conversation, I feel like it's, you know, you've taught me the words credible witness, that we've got to, as the church, be the credible witness that this is possible because our Bible says it will be how we spend eternity. So what are we waiting for? Like, what happens next? And I'm going to just ask a few questions now and just open it up to you guys. What happens next?
I think, you know, one of the things that should happen next is people have to have the courage. You know, we've been talking about, you know, being courageous, you know, here, to live out not just the orthodoxy, but the orthopraxy, you know. It's not just what you say, but it's also what you do, you know. And I think that's important for people to just to start and to really start unraveling some of this, your theology. And we were just talking backstage where, you know, you think about when we think about the white church and how we talk about that this is, you know, we are, you know, Christians, like, you know, that this is a Christian nation. When we say that, that's, you know, saying that to an African-American person or an indigenous person, that's like, really? Like, because what genocide and the institution of slavery does not equate to Christian, you know? And so I think we have to have these hard conversations and really begin to excavate some of our theology and what we believe and this, you know, and how we believe to really have these difficult conversations. And so we have to be willing to start, you know? And I think starting with our theological practices and, you know, not, and believing what we see, not seeing what we believe, you know, in that sense. And I think that's important. That's one thing.
Yeah, I hope this is helpful. I think until we acknowledge that we're dealing with some principalities and powers, this is just what we were just going to talk. Until there's a kind of heartbreak that gets all of us asking the Spirit of God to break this thing that was woven into the foundation of the nation. Theologically it was, in regards to the systems and structures it was, in regards to the mindset it was. And so the quick fix here is for the Spirit of God, by the grace of God, to destroy this principality and power that sits over really the world on this issue. We're not the only ones struggling with this issue. We just got some really nasty stuff in ours. And we're going to need a kind of spiritual breakthrough if we're going to move the needle on this thing. And so there has to be, and this sounds like such a cop-out because this isn't the only thing, but I think this is a big thing, a kind of fasting, tearful, prayerful, please God, break this thing off of us, from all of us. And I think if we could do that, right, what does praying together do, right? It creates a singular heart. It creates a singular mission. I mean, that's why I'm praying with my staff several times a week, because it makes us, it destroys the silos, and it puts us all together on a single mission, gives us a single heart. And I think for all the best practices any of us can say, this power is so unbelievably strong and woven into the fabric that we're going to need an act of God. And the good news is he's about that.
Yes.
Right? He's about that.
You know, just to piggyback off of what the brother's saying is that it's important to really, really understand that not only is it just a spiritual principality, but at Arrabon, what we talk about is we say that the racial caste system that America's been ordered around a racial caste system that had white people at the top, black people at the bottom, and genocide to indigenous people. And so if you're an immigrant, if you're Asian, Hispanic, whatever space that you're in and your personal color, it's always been this in-between that you've had to work through between being whiteness and blackness. And what we say is that the racial caste system is a spiritual principality that was manifested economically, legislated politically, and it affects us all relationally. A spiritual principality manifested economically, legislated politically, it affects us all relationally. So oftentimes when we get into this conversation, we are starting this conversation from a relational standpoint, and then when the politics get into it, if we can work through that, where the rubber really hits the road is about economics.
Yeah.
Politics is always about economics. If you want to know what's going on, you listen to what people say, but you follow the money trail.
All money.
And so when you look at race was created, the caste system of race was created for economic reasons.
Yes.
And so, and this makes a lot of sense because God talks about mammon. It talks about the powers, the principalities in which this has been manifested. So yes, this is a spiritual thing, but it's not a spiritual thing so that we can get along better.
Yeah. No, that ain't.
It's not a spiritual thing so that we can have better politics. This is an economic principality where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.